Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter.
Hi there guys, it's Adam Martin here, and welcome back to another episode of the Now Review. Now, 100 Hits, Forgotten 70s. So anyone who's been following this channel, this series, or just now in general knows they've been releasing these 100 Hits spin-offs, and particularly forgotten releases. So we've had Forgotten 80s, we've had Forgotten 90s, we've had even more Forgotten 80s, and now Forgotten 70s. So we're working through the decades, and I just want to say I love this cover. I love the purple, I love the blue and red stars. It just absolutely screams sort of that 70s look, and all the colours blend together beautifully. One of the best covers this year, dare I say this whole decade. It's 5 CDs like a lot of these releases. There's the spine, and for once the 100 Hits isn't a different colour to the rest. I still don't know why that was ever a thing. It's a little detail. There's a very brief look at the track list, my favourite crunched paragraph style, but don't worry, we're going to be taking a good look on the inside. So let's open up. Oh, it's the Now app. Download it because they want you to download it. Who have we got? We've got Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Fanfare for the Common Man, which my parents assured me was a big hit back in the day. I'll scan down. Now, the 70s is a decade I'm not particularly familiar with, so, oh god, the Floaters, I do know that song, Float On. Of course, that's on here. So a lot of these songs I actually don't necessarily know, which is good, in a way, because I want this to be sort of an eye-opener for me. I want to hear tracks I've never, ever heard before. It's a Heartache by Bonnie Tyler. Not a lot of people remember that she got her big start in the 70s, not the 80s. Elkie Brooks, David Parton, Gallagher and Lyle, Brotherhood of Man, who of course won Eurovision in 1976. Going down. I wonder if you guys know some of these songs, maybe some of you who are a bit older, or a bit younger if you just really love the 70s. And we finished there with The Moments and The Whatnots with Girls Part 1. I wonder what happened to Part 2. Follow them on all the social medias, as you'd expect. So, CD3, you've got Dee Dee Jackson, The Flying Lizards, B.A. Robertson, Lindisfarne. Again, a lot of these I'm not too familiar with. I can't wait to play all of these discs and just hear some new music for me, because I've never heard this sort of stuff before, you see. Driver 67 with Car 67, that sounds interesting. Finishing with Diodato, I think. Also, Sprach Zarathustra, that sounds very complicated. Anyway, CD4, David Essex, well I know that name. Silk, Sweet, Bay City Rollers. Wow, yeah, a lot of tracks. Honestly, this is probably the album I don't recognise the most tracks on. I knew a lot of the 80s stuff, I know a lot of the 90s stuff, but the 70s, as I said, is a bit of a uncharted waters for me. Anyway, you got Stylistics are there again, Gladys Knight and the Pips. You got the new Seekers, Smokey, Johnny Cash, nice. And we're finishing with Tommy Jones and Let Me Try Again. So as I said, I'm not too familiar, but we will have a look at one of the discs, I think. So let me pull it out of there. I really don't like the cardboard style, but there you go. There's the back. Oh, look at that. So we've got blue with the stars. I wish the disc had actually been purple, and maybe this had been the blue and red, or red stars. This is something you put on a newborn boy's wallpaper, I think. But, you know, it could be a lot worse. At least it's not bland like some of the others we've taken a look at over the years, so that can go back in there. So, what else is there to say about Now 100 Hits Forgotten 70s? Well, in terms of if you want to buy it, the answer should be obvious. If you like 70s music on the whole, and you want something a bit more than just the mainstream hits that we know and love, then I suggest you pick this up, because for me, as a big music fan, the 70s isn't my territory. However, there's a lot of songs in here I have never heard of before, but I love hearing, at least what is to me, new music. So if you want that challenge, then you should definitely go and buy it. You can get it from all the usual places, the supermarkets, your HMVs, for between £11 and £13. Or if you want to wait, you can wait, and it'll probably come down to the 2 for £15 range, and it'll be in the shops for a few years anyway. Who should avoid this? Well, if you don't like 70s music for a start, then you should probably avoid it. And there are other decades for them to cover. They've got the 80s ones, they've got the 90s ones. And I hope now that they've gone back to the 70s that this will inspire them to go even further back. Maybe forgotten 60s, or hell, even forgotten 50s maybe. And I'm hoping we get forgotten noughties and forgotten 10s soon, of course, because we are going into 2020 in a matter of weeks. Just another thing about the track list is, obviously, if you're of a certain age, you could say, hey, these aren't forgotten. I remember these. I showed this to my parents, in fact, who lived through the 70s, and they recognised a lot of the songs, and they can understand why they've been forgotten these days. But I think, again, if you like that 70s music, I mean, the 70s is much more than just disco. A lot of people don't realise that. You know, we think of disco in the 70s, and it's so much more, and that's what you're going to find on this here album. But that is all really for the Now Review. Sorry I'm not talking that much more about it. As I said, the 70s as a decade and a genre is sort of out of my depth beyond the big hits, which is on the regular Now 70s album, which I believe you can still pick up in a lot of places. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Now Review. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below. Let me know if you picked up or plan to pick up Forgotten 70s. And let me know your favourite Forgotten track on this album if you have one. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. And until the next one, I will see you guys next time.
Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show. And a special thank you to Macra, Hooks Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Bruce Danton, The Broken Kitsumanoid, and Francine Salazar, our AMTV staff members.